There is no such thing as perfect officiating. Not yet anyway. We'll see what AI can do. But as long as we've got humans doing it, what are some of the very specific and very real problems with officiating in karting? Let's get into it. Every official makes bad calls. Mistakes are going to happen, misses are going to happen. There's no way around that. Perfection is impossible. The reality is, not only do competitors have to come to terms with this, but obviously so does the officials themselves. But what actually constitutes a bad call? I think the uncontroversial version is using bias, simply not understanding the sport, not having read the rulebook, not being prepared. There's nothing controversial about that. But that leads us to assuming good intentions. If an incident is seen and an official does not call it, that is a bad call. It has directly affected the outcome of a race, regardless of what position it was, because the official didn't make that call. I don't know why that's controversial, but believe me, it is. These are real problems. But what are they actually all about? The fear of making bad calls can really keep people from calling anything. And I've seen it at all levels of motorsport. And it doesn't have to be inexperience or lack of understanding of the series or even lack of understanding of the rule book. The simple fact is making a bad call sucks. It feels bad. Generally, it's not something people want to do on purpose. Now, obviously, the fear of not making bad calls can be caused by, say, a series not being clear on what the rules are, not empowering their officials, not supporting them. And a good example of that is NASCAR. Sammy Smith took out the leader in turn 3 on the last lap of the race in Martinsville, and it took NASCAR 3 days to come out with a penalty. Why? Because none of the officials at the track made the call in the moment. Now, I will grant that it's very probable that they didn't make the call in the moment because they thought what all of us thought watching the race, which is, isn't that legal in NASCAR? But do you think those officials who were there that day and didn't make that call feel good about it? I don't think so. But for the rest of us, accepting the fact that we're going to make bad calls and learning from them is an important hurdle to get over. Because if you don't, you're hurting racing more than you're helping. The gamble is the situation is going to resolve itself. Whoever it was who should have earned the penalty is going to break a chain or, get taken back out in return or, slide off the track or in some other way it's going to resolve itself. So the official doesn't have to make the call in the moment because karma, I guess. It is literally a gamble and not how rule books work. Now, like I said, the best case scenario for these officials is that the situation resolves itself. The guilty party ends up losing in some way, and the wrong party is able to get back up there and get back what they lost. The worst case scenario for the official, and the reason why this happens, is an official gives out a penalty early, the driver runs an amazing race otherwise, crosses the finish line first, and that penalty takes the win away. Another ugly side of this, and the one that hurts the most, is waiting to see what happens. Nothing resolves itself, and then by the time the official feels like they should have made the call, they then feel it's too late to make the call, and nothing happens. And then by the nature of the fact that it usually happens to the drivers running up front, drivers who don't run up front all the time feel like those drivers are getting special treatment because they're getting exceptions to the rule. There are also some drivers who are far more likely to use contact than other drivers, and the drivers who don't use contact as much are going to feel like those drivers who do are getting special treatment. Now, it should be pretty obvious to anybody that a person who earns a penalty has earned that penalty. They should understand the rule book, understand what can and can't be done, and even if the circumstance wasn't their fault, it's not the official's fault either. It is the official's job to enforce that rule book, however it's been written by the series. Waiting and hoping that a scenario is going to work itself out, or the fear of interfering in some way, is interference. It is very much an old school mentality that the rules should be thrown away in certain circumstances. Usually when it comes down towards the end of an event, a major event like a final or a championship, officials want to step back and let the race unfold. The problem is, that's not how a rule book works. Unless the series has specifically put in the rule book that there are certain circumstances that are an exception, it applies. Those rules apply to everybody. Doesn't matter if it's the last lap, last corner, and it's for a championship. If one driver rams another driver out of the way, and the rulebook says that's not legal, it's not legal. It's a penalty. It's a penalty no matter what. And it's not the officials interfering with the race, it's the official doing their job, recognizing that the driver who made contact earned that penalty by breaking the rule. It's very, very different. What's insidious about this kind of mentality is that it is impossible to be consistent. There is never going to be integrity in a series when they pick and choose when it should apply. Because how far back in the field can this go? Is it only for the win? Only for the championship? What if it's for second? What if it's for third? What if the race for the championship, the driver's in 20th? Do they get to take out anybody in front of them to try to get position? Where do you actually draw the line? That's what the rule book is for. The rule book tells you what the line is. It's not up to the officials to make it up. And what if you're talking about different series sanctioned by the same sanctioning body? You've got different officials trying to decide what is and is not an acceptable exception, just out of their own belief of what is and isn't acceptable. Remember, officials officiate the rulebook they have, not the one they want. This is the person who wants to choose their own rulebook and when things do not apply. Very often this means not making calls at all, except for the slam dunks like, bumper penalties, starting penalties, meatballs. This is where the officials' natural biases are the most likely to come out. Everybody has biases. There are people that we don't like, just as a nature of things. But if an official is calling the rulebook as it's written to the best of their ability, then it's harder for those biases to affect the decisions they make. They're following penalty guidelines, they're following the rules as written, and it's going to apply to everybody. Whereas somebody who's got the idea of they want to have the power to officiate the way they feel like it should be officiated, now they're not officiating a rulebook, they're picking and choosing. And if somebody pissed you off that day, they're far more likely to get a harsh penalty than somebody who gave you a cup of coffee that morning. Now, I've run into officials like this, or wannabe officials like this, who haven't even read the rulebook. They don't bother because they're sure they know what the rulebook should be, and that's the one that they're going to officiate. They're literally making it up. This is the person who kills the series. Inexperienced officials can get better. An official wants to make up their own rules, usually has to be replaced. It is hard to be hated. And no matter who you are, no matter how good of a person you are, no matter how good at the job you are, by the nature of having taken the job, somebody is going to hate you. And that is a tough thing to experience. And that just means that maybe being an RD isn't the job for you. Maybe a steward is a good position for you. A competition director, maybe working in timing scoring. There are a lot of officiating opportunities for someone. But when it comes to being at the top, the decision maker, that's a tough position to be in. But being that person is the one who affects racing the most. Following the rulebook you have, making the calls when they happen as you see them, are the best way to be a positive influence on motorsports. Now, there's a lot of other things you can do around the track to be a positive influence, and if you want to be there, please by all means go out to your local track, support them however you can. But do understand, if you want to be that head official, that's the job. By far, the hardest thing to do is find a person who's willing to make a call. You find me that person, and I can teach them how to get good. Thank you all for watching. What do you think of what I had to say? Am I off base? Am I spot on? Maybe you've got other aspects that you think are even worse or better. Let me know down in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all those good things. Share if you can. And as always, I will see you at the racetrack.